Welcome back to my writer's room, everyone. I'm Matt Wallace, YouTube's resident angry writer, and welcome to day 10 of Hamshackle's Hangry Holiday Advent Vlog. I laugh because I don't want to weep. It's been kind of a stressful morning, got a lot going on. Recorded our year-end episode of the Ditch Diggers podcast, my Writing as a Job podcast that I do with Mer Lafferty. We had Chuck Wendig and Cameron Hurley, two SFF titans, back on the show for the third time. We completed the trilogy of our popular series of episodes with those two authors. We thought that was the best way to close out the year. We all talked about what a year 2017 has been and our hopes for 2018, and had a good time, but it brought up a lot of stuff. Yesterday, the FCC voted to kill net neutrality, and it still has to go through Congress, but it's just, this year just keeps throwing curveballs, man. Just spiked curveballs, dripping poison, and just lobbing them at us left and right between the Patreon thing and the FCC thing, and it's just determined, man. Gnashing at the teeth, being sucked into the vortex to like grab an ankle and take you with it. I keep waiting to see what the next couple of weeks are going to hold. It's like you're constantly waiting for the next shoe to drop. Trying to stay in my holiday spirits. I'm keeping the Santa cap on my head. Trying to stay with the spirit of the Advent vlog, but these things weigh on me. But today especially, I'm trying to stay in the spirit because at midnight tonight, Nikki and I are attending a midnight premiere of Star Wars The Last Jedi. I've waited all year for this movie. I'm shutting all the negative shit out, and I'm going to go, and we're going to sit in recliners in the dope-ass AMC Dine-In Theater where you press buttons and waiters bring you shit, and, there aren't a million people jammed in shoulder to shoulder. We're going to sit in recliners, enjoy the movie together, and that is the thing that is going to happen. I'm going to forget the entire world exists for a couple hours and just enjoy this event because I really am looking forward to it. So as you know, all through December, here on the Advent Vlog, I'm dedicating each episode to a member of Team Hamshackle, to one of you. And I'm talking about what is important to you, what you want me to talk about. Today's episode, day 10 of the Advent Vlog, is dedicated to Todd French. Todd has been a longtime follower of mine on Twitter, supporter of all that I do. Todd, I very much appreciate that. Todd asked me if I would do a countdown of the best of the worst classic action films. Todd is a fan of the so bad it's good subgenre of classic action movies. And that's very apropos because, as you know, yesterday I started my 12 days of Hamshackle's Hangry Holiday Haymakers, the video series I'm doing on old action movies. I did Blood Fist 2 yesterday. I'm going to post the new one today, which is Full Contact, starring Jerry Golden Boy Trimble, another favorite of mine. But classic action genre, that can mean a lot of things to a lot of people, Todd. So that's a very very vague range. Now, if you're talking about studio movies, if you're talking about like mainstream, classic, well-known action movies, that's a very different thing from like B movies and the kind of movies I'm doing on Hamshackle's Hangry Holiday Haymakers. But if that's what we're talking about, if we're talking about the classic action genre, then you got to look at the big names. You got to look at the Schwarzeneggers and the Van Dammes and the Stallones. And if we're doing that, the first movie that springs to my mind is Commando, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. I have to think, if you're doing the pantheon of so bad it's good classic action movies, that would definitely rank like at least top 3, if not higher, because that was, to me, Commando is like peak Schwarzenegger. It never got more Schwarzenegger-y than in Commando. And it's kind of all in the title right there, Commando. It's just like, it's basically one step below of naming something action movie. But that was the movie that gave birth to a lot of the tropes that have been kind of redone and parodied so much in other action movies, from the like gearing up montage scene where Schwarzenegger in Commando just like turns himself into a living weapon. Where he's literally like he's holding a rocket launcher by a strap in one hand and an assault rifle over his shoulder in the other, and he's got a shotgun strapped to his back and a freaking machete on his hip, and he's just one giant weapon to where it looks like if he takes one step he's gonna fall over. And the thing is, they meant that seriously. You've seen that parodied. I don't know why I can't say that word today. In so many action movies, that's what gave birth to it. Whether it's the mall scene where he beats the shit out of literally like 30 or more mall security guards, because apparently if this mall just has more security than any other mall in the history of the world. Literally, they dogpile him, and he does the thing where he throws them all off. With one fell shove, and it's played totally seriously. Whether it's the most blatantly homoerotic knife fight in the history of cinema at the end, between him and Vernon Wells, the famous Australian actor, he of the assless chaps and the Road Warrior. Where he literally pierces him with the big tube, and the white steam is pouring out of it. And he tells him, Bennett, you want to stick a knife in me? You want to turn it and see what's going on inside of there? Look into my eyes. It's, like, you just want him to fucking get it over with. You feel like, seriously, and I mean that, I feel like if they would just, like, have some really strong hate sex in that scene, they could have avoided casualties. They could have ended it peacefully. I think that's what it was about. They were supplementing this intense attraction they had to each other, but because it was an 80s action movie, they couldn't express that in a healthy way. It's actually really sad. If you look at it that way, really a commentary on how destructive and unhealthy repressed sexuality is. Let everybody be who they want to be, man. If Vernon Wells and Arnold Schwarzenegger could have just hate-fucked the shit out of each other, Commando would have had a totally different ending. So yeah, Commando. The other thing I gotta say about Commando, because how often am I gonna talk about Commando? It does have all of those things, but one thing that always gets overlooked in Commando is Rae Dawn Chong. Rae Dawn Chong plays the woman lead in Commando. It's a very unusual character for an action movie. Most people really overlook that. Rae Dawn Chong plays a flight attendant that Schwarzenegger, he abducts her. He kidnaps her flat out. She ends up helping him because he's trying to get his daughter back in the movie and defeat the bad guys. But she plays this, it's kind of a parody of a take on, an 80s modern independent woman, but not really a parody. She's playing it straight. She actually, what Rae Dawn Chong becomes in that movie is almost like a Greek choir, commenting on how tropey the action movie is. As Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bill Duke are just pounding the crap out of each other in a motel room, she's off to the side commenting on it. I can't believe this macho bullshit. She's saying that. She's actually pointing out how ridiculously alpha male stereotype all this is. She's like, you guys eat too much red meat. She's just throwing off these comments that are really skewering what's happening on screen. There's a scene where she deals with street harassment in a really serious way, where James Patrick Kelly is harassing her in an airport and she's telling him to fuck off and he gets really nasty. It's actually a really serious, they take it really seriously and portray it really seriously too. You see how ugly street harassment is. It was a very strange role to find in such a prototypical testosterone overloaded action movie. And I always really like Rae Dawn Chong in Commando. I don't think she gets enough credit. So that's one thing I will say about that Commando does have. So that was less a countdown of movies of me just commenting on. So Commando definitely would be top of my list. Bloodsport, you got to put under the so bad it's good category, even though I love that movie to death. And the fight scenes are legitimately amazing in Bloodsport, but everything around it is terrible. Jean-Claude Van Damme, that's his worst performance as an actor, and that's saying a lot. But what makes it especially cheesy is because he's trying so hard in that movie. That's the thing that I always take away from the performances in Bloodsport. Jean-Claude Van Damme, he doesn't know that he can't act. And that's, I think, one of the reasons he became such a success in Hollywood, to be honest with you, is he was almost like Tommy Wiseau from The Room. If Tommy Wiseau was actually an amazing martial artist. That was the one thing Tommy Wiseau was lacking. If he could have done martial arts like Jean-Claude Van Damme, might have had a totally different career. But Jean-Claude Van Damme had that belief in himself. He's no, I can be an amazing actor. I can be a leading Hollywood man. And he is going for it in Bloodsport if you go back and watch that movie. He is trying to win a fucking Oscar. And the thing is, everybody else around him was probably laughing their ass off, but Jean-Claude Van Damme is not. Jean-Claude Van Damme thinks he's nailing those scenes, man, and he is going for it. And I actually respect that. You almost let the performance go because you can see how hard he's trying and how seriously he's taking it. And it makes it funny It absolutely does, but it also like it has a charm to it, and that's why it's so bad it's good. It's not just bad; it's bad in like this charming, funny way that draws you in. Bloodsport definitely at the top of my list. I've talked about Jim Cotta before on the vlog. That would definitely have to go on there. I think that's achieved enough cult status that you could call it a classic. It wasn't a mainstream movie, but it's become so well known. It's the classic gymnast. Olympic gymnast learns martial arts so he can avenge his CIA agent father and enter a Deadliest Games tournament in a made-up foreign country because America wants to put a satellite in this mountain country and they need to win this Deadliest Game to like be able to request that from the king. It's the legendary movie where Kurt Thomas finds a pommel horse inexplicably in the middle of this little Romanian village and does all these martial arts pommel horse moves on it. That's definitely a so bad it's good action classic that I think actually overcomes its cult status to be one of those. One that I will throw in that is definitely not like a mainstream big one, but of like the B movie genre, like just below the Van Dammes and the Stallones and the Schwarzeneggers, the Cynthia Rothrock movie Undefeatable, 1993-94. If you Google best fight scene of all time on YouTube, what comes up is a fight scene from that movie. It has like 12 million views. But that was, and I love Cynthia Rothrock. Cynthia Rothrock is a goddess. And I love some, like her China O'Brien series. She did some legitimately, like just amazing martial arts action movies in the 80s. This was the worst movie Cynthia Rothrock ever did. But it's awful in a hilarious way. From the fight scenes, the stiff, awkward, telegraphed fight scenes, to the hideous dialogue, to the horrible gimmicks of the kill. Like one guy's got like cat claws and he's fighting her. And she's like, the plot is ludicrous. She's trying to like avenge the death of her sister, who was killed by this like kickboxing champion / mad scientist / serial killer with the ridiculous perm, and his name's like Stingray or some shit like that. And the greatest fight scene of all time that's on YouTube, it's between those two, Stingray and a guy playing a cop. I forget the actor's name. But they start off in like suits and Stingray's in like a fucking lab coat and they rip each other's clothes off and they're just like chiseled and oiled and bodybuilders beneath. And it's so hideously bad, but it's so hilarious. That is probably my favorite so bad it's funny action movie. Pound for pound, probably of all time. Right up there with like the Miami Connections and the Kung Furies and stuff like that. Todd, that's not a proper countdown, but those are like maybe like a good top 3, top 4 of my so bad it's good favorites of action movies. If you're interested in action movies, again, I'm doing 12 days of Hamshackle's Hangry Holiday. Haymakers started yesterday. Day 2 is coming up. I'm going to be doing all the way up till Christmas Eve, revisiting some of my favorite B martial arts and action movies from the 80s and 90s. A lot of love for these movies. Grew up on them. They were very formative for me. I'm looking back at them through the lens of now, looking at their tropes and triggers, making fun of them, but also appreciating what I liked about them. So if you're into that, check it out. Something to break up your saturn holiday viewing. As I said, tonight is all about Star Wars. I'm sure I will send tweets, but I'm not planning to vlog or any of that crap. I just want to enjoy the moment when I go see Star Wars later with my wife. Everything that is wrong today will still be wrong tomorrow. So tonight I choose Star Wars. And that is the quote I'm going to leave you with. Thank you, Todd, for the suggestion. This episode is dedicated to you. Thank you for supporting me. Everybody else, hit the comments all through the rest of December. I'm dedicating each episode to a member of Team Hamshackle. Let me know what you want me to talk about. Ask me a question, suggest a topic, request a topic. I'll be happy to address that and dedicate the episode to you. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing with the vlog. I always appreciate hearing from everybody. If you're seeing Star Wars tonight, no spoilers for the people seeing it tomorrow. But if you're seeing it tomorrow, congratulations. Hope you enjoy it. I'm Matt Wallace, and I will see you on the other side of The Last Jedi.